All right, as we get started today, go ahead and take out your textbooks, turn to page 48, and you had homework at the top of page 48, numbers 42, 44, and 46, some problems with adding or subtracting fractions, and then on the review, kind of pages 48 to 49, you had, 8 problems there, numbers 4, 16, 17, 21, 23, 25, 27, and 28. Let's take a look at that very quickly. There's the... All right, did a lot of the work in your head. That's actually good. All right. Okay, yes, I can see it now. Good. All right, maybe a little bit more than that. That seems like we kind of missed the idea. So we will certainly go over that and hopefully help you to be adequately prepared for the quiz that we're going to. Yeah, for that. All right. Let's start with the review. Number 4. At the bottom of the page, double distribution. What did you get, Brandon?
2x to the 4th positive 2x cubed negative 40x squared negative x negative 5.
Excellent job. Again, that was 2x to the 4th positive 2x cubed negative 40x squared negative x negative 5. Number 16. On the next page, factoring that quadratic trinomial. Audrey.
I think I got this one wrong, but I got negative 3x plus 10 times 7x minus 4.
And does your outer inner check?
No.
Then you definitely got it wrong. So that means we wouldn't want to go with what you had. We wanted to fix it, right? Now, the first thing you should have pulled out was a... help, class? Negative. There's a negative first term. So we want to pull that negative out right off the bat. And that will change all the signs for us. Did we pull out that first term negative? So you did pull it out, you just didn't catch what I was going for. All right, and then from here, probably, I'm thinking 7x, 3x. I think that's what you said you had. My signs are both going to have to be negative. And you tried 4 and 10, and it wasn't working, right? So then let's not go with 4 and 10. Let's go with something else.
2 and 20.
Those just seem so far apart. 2 and 20 just seems like it'd be so big. Maybe something smaller or closer together.
5 and 8.
Let's try 5 and 8 and see if that works. All right, outer?
Negative 56.
And inner?
Negative 15.
Yeah, okay, that didn't work. Okay, so 5 and 8, no.
8 and 5.
Okay, 8 and 5, let's try that. All right, outer?
Negative positive. Negative 35. Negative 25. Yeah.
There we go. Don't stop until you figure it out, though. Don't stop till the outer inner checks. Don't, well, it didn't check, but I don't know what else to do. Change the numbers. All right, how many got this answer for this problem? All right, several of you. Good. Number 17, Audrey wants redemption. Audrey?
4x minus 3 squared.
4x negative 3 quantity squared. Number 21, Abby?
2 times the quantity of x plus 2y times the quantity of x negative 2y.
Great job. Number 23, we'll go to Genesis. For shame. Number 23, Michael.
I have x squared plus 4 times the quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x minus 2.
Good. Initially x squared plus 4, x squared minus 4, then take the x squared minus 4, factor that again into x plus 2x minus 2. Number 25, we'll go back to Genesis, factoring by grouping. What was your answer?
Quantity b plus 11 plus quantity 2a plus 5.
Good. B plus 11 times 2a plus 5. Number 27, you're supposed to algebraically represent the sum of the quotient of d and c and the product of g squared minus 1 and k squared plus 4. Maddie, what did you write? And I assume by when you said times, you just meant having the parentheses up against each other. How many had this for your expression there? Right? Questions on that. Does it make sense? The sum of the quotient of d and c and the product of g squared negative 1 and k squared plus 4. And so if d is 15, if c is negative 5, if g is 2, and if k is negative 6, what did you get for your evaluation, Maddie?
7.
Did you get the same algebraic expression? Kendall? What was your evaluation?
25.
Oh my. All right, real quick. What's 15 divided by negative 5, class? Negative 3. Plus 2 squared
4,
minus 1.
3,
Negative 6 squared.
36,
Positive 36 plus 4.
40,
40. 40 times 3
120,
plus negative 3.
117.
117 should have been our evaluation. How many had 117? Nobody. That's sort of sad. Obviously, if you missed the expression, there's no way you were getting 117. But if you got the expression, well, questions. Questions now that we've seen it. All right, let's see if we did better on number 28. The square of the binomial 3y minus 12 plus the square of the binomial 7y minus 8. What did you write for that, Kendall?
The quantity 3y minus 12 plus the quantity 7y minus 8.
There we go, 2 binomial squares being added together. And said that y is negative 4. All right, and what did you get for your evaluation?
I got 1,872.
Perfect, 1,872. How many got that answer also correct? Ooh, only a couple of you. 3 times negative 4, class?
Negative 12.
Negative 12, negative 12?
Negative 4.
Negative 24. Negative 24 squared should give you a positive 576. Then you got negative 4 times, which you could use a calculator, by the way, for that. Calculators are allowed again. Woo! All right, negative 4 times, again, for the first time. Well, if you were in geometry last year, it's again. All right, negative 4 times 7? Negative 28. Negative 8 gives us negative 36. When you square it, gives us a positive 1,296, I think. And when you add those together, yes, that would give you the 1,872 that Kendall got. Again, let the calculator take care of some of that hard work for you. Questions there? You see perplexed look on Abby's face. Question?
No, I just didn't. I did it like a regular binomial squared, so I had 3 numbers for each.
Oh, you squared the first square, the last multiplied and double? I mean, it would work mathematically. It would work. It's just a really long way to go.
I did something wrong.
Okay. All right. Yeah, do it like this. All right, let's take a look at 42, 44, and 46. Now, more to the point of what we've been working on lately. Was that when we add rational expressions, or we add fractions together, class, we have to have a common denominator. And the idea is to look at everything that's in the denominators and represent all of the winners. The biggest of everything gets put in the common denominator. Now, if there's polynomials, in order to figure out what you even have, what you have to do to any polynomial denominators, Genesis? Maybe sometimes, more generally, just factor, right? Factor, so you can see what factors are present. That's if you have polynomials. Number 42, though, you didn't have polynomials. You had a 4x cubed, and you had an x. Now let's see, we have 8n squared p to the 5th, all over the 4x cubed minus 2ab. Now technically, there is a little something we could do to save ourselves just a little bit of work. Anyone see it right off the bat?
I was thinking about the 2 and the 4.
Well, if we were multiplying, I think you're thinking like the cross cancellation. If we were multiplying, yes, but we're not multiplying, we're subtracting, so we can't work the diagonal here. But right up here, right, we could reduce this down to get a 2 and a 1. If we did that, our LCD is very easy, class. X cubed. If you don't do that, your LCD is going to be 4x cubed. Anyone see to do that? You reduced it down? I didn't think so, so you kind of did. Okay.
I reduced it at the end.
Well, right, at the end we're going to have to reduce, but again, we might be able to not have to reduce if we get the right LCD. If we keep the 4x cubed, nothing changes in the first one, but the second fraction, class, we'd have to multiply top and bottom by 4x squared. Again, it would only be an x squared if we reduced earlier, and that gives us a negative 8abx squared. Now we should see the common factor, class, 8, if you want to go even bigger, right? We pull the 8 out to get the n squared p to the 5th minus abx squared. And now we can cancel away the 4 out of the 4 and 8 to get a 2. N squared p to the 5th plus minus abx squared all over x cubed. Again, should have reduced at least at the end. How many got this answer? And I'm going to leave it this way. You forgot to factor out the 8 and cancel. All right, questions on this? Questions on this first one? Pretty straightforward, just dealing with monomials. Number 44 does have some polynomials, though. And so I'm going to not write it down the way it says. I'm going to factor the r squared negative 6r positive 9. I see a perfect square trinomial. Hopefully you do as well. Hopefully you see r minus 3 squared. And I could write it r minus 3 squared, or I could write it r minus 3, r minus 3. Moving forward, this is probably going to be better for you. Here it really doesn't matter. And then we're subtracting a 10r negative 1, or positive 1, excuse me, all over r negative 3. Now, this doesn't factor, so in class I should group it. So polynomials that factor. Polynomials that don't factor, group it. Question, what's the LCD? The winner has 2 r minus 3s. These 2 r minus 3s beat out this 1 r minus 3. Does that make sense? We want the winners. Here there's 2. Here there's 1. The winner is 2. So r minus 3 is what has to go down, or r minus 3 squared. Just as an x cubed beats out an x, and r minus 3 squared, 2 of them, beats out an r minus 3 to the first, 1 of them. Does that make sense? We haven't really seen one like this before where we had a square or a double in there, but does it make sense now? The other key is you can't have an LCD that has less, listen, that has less than what you see here. And if I only had r minus 3, this actually has more than that. You can't have that. You have to make these bigger or leave them alone. In this case, it stays the same. Negative 8r, positive 7. Here I go from a single r negative 3 to having 2 of them. So class, what should I do? Times the other r minus 3. And what am I going to have to do with these 2 binomials, class? Foil. And what am I going to have to do after I foil? Change the signs. So we multiply our first, we get 10r squared, but negative 10r squared. We multiply the outer, negative 30r, inner, positive 1r. We would have gotten negative 29r, but positive 29r. We multiply the last, we get negative 3, but positive 3. And then from here, what should we do next, Michael?
Simplify it.
Right, by combining like terms. So we've got a negative 8r that can combine with a 29r.
21r.
21r. And I've got a 7 and a 3. 10. And I've got a negative 10r squared that I really don't want to put at the beginning, because I have to factor that in. So tell you what, I'm going to put the 10 at the beginning. And then the 21r, and then my negative 10r squared. That way it's in ascending order, but I also don't have the first term negative, because I'm lazy. I'm going to leave the r negative 3, r negative 3. And we have this for our answer. Or you can just pull out the negative and put it out front. Did anyone get this? All right, good, Audrey. The rest of you, does it make sense with the r negative 3? 2 of them beats 1 of them. Kind of like, you know, anyway. Fighting an alley. 2 guys better. Anyway, number 46. Not that I'm recommending it. Number 46. That first denominator. No, not so much. Thoughts on that first denominator, class?
Pull out the negative.
You gotta pull out that negative. And then where does that negative have to go?
It goes to the front of the
To the front of the fraction, right? Because we don't do that. All right, so I'm going to have the x negative 11 in the top. I'm going to factor out the negative, which gives me negative quantity x positive 2, right? But then that negative I'm going to float to the front. Questions on what I did here? Did y'all follow what I was talking through? All right, and then the x positive 10 also doesn't factor. Just group it. And we'll have the 5x negative 1. All right. So, what's the LCD here? Maddie? All right, the x plus 2 needs representation. The x positive 10 needs representation. And so, for my first fraction class, I just need to multiply top and bottom by? X plus 10. Once again, we're going to FOIL and change the signs because of the negative we pulled out. So, x squared but negative x squared. 10x, negative 11x is negative 1x, positive 1x. Negative 110, positive 110. Here, multiply top and bottom class by x plus 2. Once again, FOIL. This time I don't have to change any signs, so I just get to keep my 5x squared. 10x negative 1x is 9x and negative 2. And then, what should I do next? Brandon? Add like terms. I got a negative x squared and 5x squared.
Positive 4x. So
I've got an x and a 9x.
10x,
I've got a 110 and a negative 2.
positive 108.
All over x plus 2, x plus 10. Technically, there is something I could factor in that numerator, class.
2.
A 2. They're all even numbers. Now, if I pulled out a 2, would that 2 I pulled out be able to cancel with anything else? No. So is there any point in pulling out the 2? No, not unless it would allow me to then backwards FOIL. But I don't see any way with a positive 108. You're splitting that into 2 positive factors that only give you a 10. That's impossible. So no, it's not going to factor. We're going to leave it like that. And how many got that answer for this problem? Slightly nerve-wracking. Okay, questions on that now that we've seen it worked? Do we feel like we understand it a little better now that we've tried those 3 at home, done them, and now, okay? Let's do a couple more. Do 41, 43, 48. 41, 43, 48. Let's see if we can do better on these 3 than we did on the last 3. Again, the importance of homework, you learn from it. You give it a try, you do your best, you learn from it if you don't get it right. So let's see, did we learn from it? Will we do better on these 3 than we did on the last 3 we had for homework? Notice on number 41, you can reduce both fractions right off the bat and maybe make your life a little easier. Because if you reduce now, you shouldn't have to reduce later. Just a thought. Any questions on what I did? All right, keep working. If you didn't do that, you don't necessarily have to start over. It just means you have to reduce at the end to get the same answer I'll get. take a couple more minutes to be finishing up. If you finish early, check your answers. Pencils down, even if you're not finished. Check your answers on 41. Hopefully you got, now, again, I reduced. I took the 8 and the 4 and I reduced to 2 and 1. But if you had a 4 down here, and here you had a 2 and a 10 down here, you might have gone with a 40 u squared x cubed y to the 7th. How many had that? And how many reduced after I showed it so you just did what I did anyway? Questions on this initial step? Or 20, I guess, actually. 4 and 10 could go into 20. 20, u squared x squared, or x cubed y to the 7th. It worked as well. And then from here, again, you just figure out what's missing. So if you went with a 20, you would have multiplied by a 5u squared. If you went with a 40, you would have multiplied by a 10u squared. If you went with the 20, you would have multiplied by a 4x squared y to the 7th. If you had a 40, you would have multiplied by 8x squared y to the 7th. Again, it would have ended up reducing to this point. I originally had a negative here and a positive here. But I said, well, if I factor out the negative, and then slide the negative down in front, that changes this to a positive, that to a negative. Or I could flip-flop them and get this here. In either case, we want to make sure we reduce down. Again, you would have either had a 2 that could have factored out, or a 4 rather that could have factored out, or even an 8 that could have factored out to end up reducing down to this. Questions on the first one? How many got one of these two answers? You got one of these. Excellent questions. Looking at the next one, pretty straightforward. You factor, you group. There's your LCD. Don't change nothing. Multiply by a negative 3 and distribute. Combine the like terms. If you want to factor out a two-way, you can, but nothing's going to end up canceling anyway, so I can just leave it like this. I'm going to get one of those answers on 43. That was a very straightforward problem. Questions, though?
So,
yes, sir.
I got positive 2a plus 2a squared, and I factored out the negative. But I think I just put it in ascending order instead of descending. Would that be okay?
So you combined these to get negative 2a, and then instead of flip-flopping them, you factored out a negative.
Yeah.
So you had negative out front. That changes this to a positive 2a and changes this to a negative 2a squared. I don't think I heard negative on the 2a squared.
Nope.
Okay, remember, if you're going to factor out the negative, you have to pull it out of everything in the top before you slide it down. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, good. Any other questions? That was a great question. Any other questions? All right, and then looking at number 48, again, straightforward backwards FOIL, b negative 5, b negative 3. That includes the b negative 3 you grouped. Leave it alone. Multiply by b negative 5, but change the signs as you FOIL. Because my b squared is negative, I thought, well, I'll just put it at the end then. And then I'll put my combined 4b in front of that. I'll put the 25 in front of that and go ascending order. Or if you really wanted the descending order, you have the negative 3b squared, positive 4b, when you combine positive 25. Then pull the negative out of everything. Make this a positive, this a negative, and then take that negative you factored and slide it down front. So either of those answers would be correct for 48. How many have that? Or maybe you didn't finish, but you would say, I was on the right track, I would have gotten it. Questions on this? Turn over to page 56. Page 56, let's practice a little bit more. I feel like we did better. How many say, I feel like I did better on this than I did on the homework? I feel like I did better just now than on the homework. Okay, so progressing. I don't think we're there yet. So let's go to page 56. Let's get there. At the top of the page, there's a couple of fractions I just want you to reduce, and that's 15 and 16. They're on page 56 at the top. And then also 21 through 24. Let's start with 21 and 23 for now. We'll see if we have time to get 22 and 24 in there. Let's at least start with these four, practicing with reducing, practicing with adding fractions. Remember, we only cancel factors. We never cancel terms. As you finish up, check your answers. If everything's good, go ahead and hit 22 real quick. If everything's good to go, go on to 22. You're still working on these, got another minute or so. All right, pencils down, even if you're not finished. Pencils down. 15, 16. How many got them both right? Perfect on reducing fractions. All right, any questions at all on those? 21, real quick comment, I did not reduce. Because if I go 2 and 1, guess what my LCD is anyway? Still 12c squared. So reducing wouldn't have helped my LCD at all. So why bother? I also would probably leave it this way, because factoring doesn't do anything for me anyway. So probably I'll leave it this way. How many got that answer for 21? All right, and then on 23, again, pretty straightforward. In fact, the C plus 5 kind of helps you figure out your backwards FOIL. Not that you have to always have something common, but it usually seems to work out that way. Make sure we distribute the negative 2c's carefully. I again went ascending order just so I wouldn't have to have the first term negative, but you could have flipped it around and pulled out the negative. How many had that for 23? Or maybe on the right track? Anyone get 22 finished? A couple of you did. Answer should have been 48, x to the 10th, plus n squared r squared, all over 12 r squared. Got it, okay, excellent. Any questions on this? Reducing or adding fractions? All right, clear your desk except for a clean sheet of paper, a pencil, and a calculator if it makes you feel better. Clean sheet of paper, pencil, optional calculator. Not sure how helpful a calculator will be in this instance, but you know, can't hurt. If it makes you feel good to have it, just don't waste time with it. Sheet of paper, pencil, calculator, everything else away. First and last name at the top of your paper along with today's date, which is 9/10/21. 9/10/21, today's date. And this is quiz 6. Quiz 6 that you'll be taking today. Let's go and take a look at the quiz together very quickly, and then I will end the video putting the homework on the board. I'll actually put an extra credit on the board as well. Okay, so YouTube person, you might want to pause the video with the extra credit up there. The bonus question, I should say. Numbers 1 through 6, reduce them. This should not take you very long. Okay, make sure you show your steps. Be careful, but reduce. Numbers 7 through 11, adding, subtracting. Again, these shouldn't take very long as you're doing it correctly. If you feel like you're stuck on one, just move on. Leave the work, move on. All right, you may begin. I'll put the bonus question on the board as well as the homework on the chalkboard, and then we'll end the video.